Welcome to the Rural Dispatch, the podcast delivering stories from rural America. I'm your host, Allie Behrens. Headquartered in rural Iowa, I help run a nationwide livestock transportation company, and I'm here to bring you stories from the people who help shape this industry and our rural communities. Whether you're a trucker, livestock producer, or rural entrepreneur, this show is for you. Each week, we explore the realities of rural business life, from the highways to the fields and everything in between. So buckle up and let's dive into today's episode. Mark Toms, MT, the legend, the great one.
Now you're forgetting a couple things in there, but we'll let it slide.
A lot of people in rural America wear multiple hats, and today's guest is no exception. From hauling loads to running a business that keeps trucks clean and even helping protect livestock in a whole different way. We've got a lot to unpack today. So let's start at the beginning, Mark.
Well, first saying good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming.
Where'd you get your start?
I got my start around trucks when I was 10, 11. Did some mischief stuff. Lady wanted us to spray paint her mom's house and then got in trouble. And our parents thought it'd be good community service if we went to work all summer for free. And I cut oil filters. Back in the day, you used to have to separate the paper filter from the metal before you could throw them away. So we'd have to cut the tops off every single oil filter we changed.
So you got in trouble when you were 10 years old?
Yeah.
10 or 11?
Yeah, with my buddy Delby, whose parents own a diesel shop here in town.
Okay, so you went to work for their diesel shop.
Yeah, as punishment.
For free. That's essentially your community service for getting in trouble.
We had to go clean the paint off. The worst part was we got paid $20 from the girl as a setup. We got scammed at 10. And then she turned around and told her mom the next morning who did it, and they called the cops in. But anyways, we started doing that. Really actually liked it. During the school years, we went over there every week, every Friday for years. Must have been 10 years. I stayed at his house and get up with his dad in the morning. We go down there and just clean. And
go to the shop.
Yeah, and we just mess around, just like your kids probably do out here, and then get yelled at.
Yep.
Call him, God, he's such an asshole, blah, blah, blah. Well, now we're to the age where it's past the buck, and now his grandkids were there this week, and I was the same way. I was chewing his ass till Renee said, man, I turned into you overnight. Now I got somebody to yell at. But anyways, I got stuck there, and I just never left, and I've still been there in some shape or form.
So how old are you now? 40? 42. So you have worked for the same company since you've been 11 years old, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
How old do you think you were when they start paying you?
Right, 14 or so. I still got my first paycheck stub at my mom's. Yeah, it wasn't much. But back then, it didn't cost much to live either.
So that was Randy's Diesel. Randy Brune is Randy's Diesel from Carroll. What did they start out as when you started working for them at 11 years old? Like, what were they? Were they a trucking company or were they a diesel shop?
Yeah, at that point, they were a trucking company. They were a diesel shop. Randy started as a diesel shop. And then we were in the reefers, and then we did some flatbed stuff. And then there used to be Boomsma Egg Company out of Glidden, and that's how he kind of got into the egg hauling business.
So he started as a diesel shop.
Yep.
And then worked his way into a trucking company.
It was a Marmon truck dealer.
Was he a Marmon dealer when you started there?
Yep.
Oh, he was?
Yep. He was just on the tail end of it.
Just on the tail end?
Yep. And he ran Marmon the whole time, and that was what my first truck I drove was a Marmon too. They were a hand-built truck out of Chicago in Garland, Texas.
When do you think they quit building Marmon trucks?
I think the last one, God, don't quote me, you might want to Google it. I want to say it was 98. They're a hell of a collector's item. A lot of people still running them.
Sometimes called the Rolls Royce of trucks.
Yeah, every single piece was hand built. People wanted them over the Peterbilts back in the day, but they were so heavy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had one that had a Canadian spread on the truck.
I think I remember seeing trucks like that.
It was awesome. Besides going across scale in Kansas, coming up when we used to haul cream out of New Mexico because they never knew how to axle it.
Oh.
What was the last year? Did you Google it?
1997.
That was close.
So Randy's, pretty much he started as a Marmon dealer and a diesel shop. And then he got into trucking, ran reefers, flatbeds, and then got big into hauling eggs in tankers.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we hauled eggs on reefers, and we did a little bit of all of that, and then it morphed into the tankers.
Gotcha.
God, I can remember even as a kid, he'd work all day, kind of like you have to, and he'd jump in the truck and haul ass to St. Louis and dump the load and be back all day.
Yep. And they have done well for themselves. What year did they build the shop you guys are in?
God, what year is it stamped on the concrete out there? I want to say I wasn't old enough to drive yet, so I'm going to say 98.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't old enough because I remember we used to sleep in the back of Calvin Schwery's mom's station wagon and she would go to work. Remember the station wagons had the back that flip up? And then we'd steal her station wagon when she went into work. And we used to go out there and party all the time. And then one year before the rock was put in, we got buried in the mud out front. And it was a bad deal. We literally walked all over all the old businesses down there, found every 2x4 we could, stuffed them under the tires just to get the goddamn car back, to get it back to the Walgreens parking lot before she got off work, even though it was covered in mud. Never got caught, but yeah, so I know I wasn't driving yet because I didn't have a license yet. I want to say I was 15 when we built that, because I remember we used to get dropped off there at night to work when we were building the building, caulking everything and all the seams and working on the floors. And
well, there's no doubt about it. You being there 30 years, roughly. I mean, you've seen everything there is to see down at that place.
So you currently run the truck wash at Randy's. When did the wash start?
I want to say 2015. Yeah, because I came off the road, I want to say in 13, 14. Dispatch for a couple of years in there.
Oh, geez, you've really done it all.
Yeah, I couldn't do the dispatching anymore, though. That was driving a man to drink. Problem is, I was friends with all the guys I was driving with over the road, and then you come off and then try to tell them what they're going to do, which was fine Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but come Thursday, they're already planning their route for home. You tell them what to do, and then they're calling their buddy, and their buddy's like, oh, I'm going home, and then you get the phone call, you son of a bitch, bah, 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 bah. And I literally was mentally going home just drained. I was just ready to go back to just worrying about myself.
That's not just a you thing.
No, that's all of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a dispatcher thing. You got to have the mindset for it, and you got to be okay with people not liking you.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually feel terrible for, I had Mary for dispatcher and Stacy for dispatcher, and I was the same way.
Right.
The wife's calling when you're coming home, blah, blah, we're doing this weekend. Then they call that last load and you just instant pissed.
Yep. Unfortunately, with technology and the way cell phones are now, and, I don't know, is Qualcomm a thing anymore? I mean, all the technology things just change, like that. I remember growing up, my dad's guys, they knew what they were doing for the whole week. They had their schedule. There was no way to get a hold of them to change it.
Yep.
Like, this is what you're doing for the whole week. See you Friday.
That's the way when I first started driving, that's the way it was, because the cell phones were like $900 a month to call, and then we had the bag phone, and one guy took that to full advantage, and the bag phones were gone. But we had to call in from a pay phone every day at 9:30.
Well, yeah, and that's when everybody had 800 numbers.
Yes.
To call the 800 number from the payphone.
And if you missed your check call from calling in, somebody else got the good load. So every time I stopped to do whatever, call, hey, anything changed? Because you might be 500 miles down the road. Oh, you got to go back.
We just got rid of our 800 number last year. Yeah. I always wondered why the heck we had that. Makes sense.
Why you had an 800 number? Yeah, because everybody had to check in.
You used to go in the truck stop and there'd be 30 payphones in a row on the wall.
At some of the truck stops, all the payphones were on the wall. And everybody stood next to each
Absolutely.
other. And then some of the bigger truck stops, like Bosselman's and Grand Island or out at Big Springs or something, there was his own little room. You opened the door, you went in there and sat down.
Yeah, I had to deal with put down the notebook and stuff for your map, and you could talk to dispatchers because they had a computer.
Of course, it hasn't been like this for years, but a lot of the good old truck stops where you sat down to eat, they also had a phone at their booth.
Yes. Yeah, right next to where the napkins are.
Yep. I mean, you just reach that phone, call the 800 number, call the office, get your orders.
And the Petros used to page you. The dispatcher used to be a bit, hey, I'm going in to eat breakfast. Hey, Randy driver, call your dispatcher.
Oh.
Better finish your eggs. They ain't good on the other end.
That is one unfortunate thing about technology is, I'm the same way. All dispatchers now are the same way. It's like, call me when you get unloaded. We'll see what's happening.
Yep. I remember when I got my first PC miler on a laptop in the truck, when you'd have to make mistakes on your paper logs and so you can keep moving. It'd take 35 minutes for that laptop to fire up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And then you had the old truck stops. I don't even know how to explain this, where it had the overhead deals. It had the big deal that come down and hooked in your window. If you were stuck there for the weekend.
When I used to go to El Paso, I used to get that. Because I'd always get there on Thursday and wouldn't load till Friday. And I always get there Thursday morning. Had air conditioning. You could plug your TV coax into it and you'd have a TV.
Yep. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you used to have to call ahead and reserve them spots.
You did. That is exactly right. Let's actually rewind a little bit. When you graduated high school, then you went to college.
Yep. I drove truck all summer that summer, just shagging to the guys that could run out of state because I wasn't old enough. Run down the Missouri line to Lineville, swap back to Guthrie. Davenport was a big one, guys coming back off the East Coast and Champaign and everywhere. And I did that. And then I went to diesel mechanic school in Ankeny. The diesel part was fine. And then I actually was taking a truck driving course, and there was an old Mac there and a twin stick. And I said to that guy, I said, how come we never drive that? And he goes, well, nobody here knows how to drive it. I said, well, it's time for the student to become the teacher. Get in that son of a bitch. And man, I tore ass all over Ankeny in that truck. And he goes, well, there ain't nobody else here knows how to do it. And I said, well, if you pay attention like you tell me, dude, you'd learn how to do it too, and you could pass the buck. I love that. And then we did.
I tell you what, though, what a trade to learn. Do you regret going to diesel mechanics school?
No. I made a lot of friends there. I mean, obviously, anytime we go anywhere, you're the same way. I make friend anywhere I go. And I still talk to a bunch of the guys, and they're all still in the business. Like Winhold, he started his own trucking deal. And
that Corey Winhold, that is one good guy that
he'd be a hell of one to get on here.
Yeah.
He started his own dirt working business.
But I mean, even besides the people you met, I mean, you can't go wrong knowing how to work.
No, it's a life skill with anything, small motor, big motor, even just being a truck driver. Like when I was over the road, something would break, I'd call him Rainey and be like, hey, this is what's wrong. And he talked me through fixing it on the side of the road.
Let's talk about how you got hooked up with this Barron's clan.
Oh my God. This actually, we were just talking about this. This touches back to your last podcast with, I think it was Jeremy on there talking about, wasn't he? Or you guys were talking about insurance.
Yeah.
In the 21, well, I was driving, turned 21, running all over hell and back, making unbelievable money. That's why I look back now at the money we made back then versus what it cost to live versus now. But anyways, doing that, and then I got the phone call, hey, the insurance company seen you driving, blah, blah, and they know you're not a certain age. So basically, they kind of pulled my insurance. And I was sitting at home, not doing much, and I lived down the road from Smoke and Jeff's. I was just down the road, and Smoke come walking in the house one night, and he goes, hey, Dad.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. You lived a mile down the road from my dad. I was in high school hanging out at your house. I probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
We become better friends than we probably should have been while I was a freshman or sophomore high school.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there was a few beers.
Yeah. So I remember my dad threw his back out.
And he had to go.
And he's like, do you know anybody that could go with me? I was like, I think I know a guy to go off.
Yeah. Smoke walked in. He goes, hey, you want to haul a load of cattle? And I said, I've never hauled a load of cattle. And he goes, well, Dad will go with you. And he'll tell you what to do, yada, yada. So I was like, all right. Well, I knew of your dad, but I didn't know him. And I showed up out there, and he's like, all right, get in.
What was your first trip?
We went to Dodge with a load of fats.
Dodge City, Kansas.
Yep. And I want to say it was Jay Hausman was right behind us, and maybe Rick Simons too, but I know Jay was there. And, and I was pulling tankers, so I'm used to sucking the load tight into the corner because the way the liquid moves. What's the Dunlap curves?
Oh.
I went to throttle it through like you do with the tanker and that top heavy load, and that was a whole new experience. And then he's like, you know what? Maybe I just make you nervous. I'm going to pull over and talk to Jay. And he let me alone all the way down Dodge. By the time we got Dodge, I had it figured out. But you want to talk about a guy's butthole puckering real tight, not used to a top heavy load. But yeah, we went down there, and then we went to somewhere in Colorado. I don't remember. And we ended up out in Montana, and it was just a trip I'll never forget. And then became good friends with your dad, obviously, on the way back. And it was just different atmosphere to get somewhere and then go drink beer at the bars and had a good time, waited a day or two to load. And
right.
It was a great trip. And then coming home, I just bounced from truck to truck to truck for whoever needed a nap. And by the time I remember getting back towards Sioux City somewhere, I was ready to die. Somebody blew a rear end out. And then your dad ended up staying out in Colorado in a motel till the rear end got fixed and his back was better. And then he drove that one home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was quite the trip. But anyways, yeah, then we got there. The question was how I got involved in the clan. So then we got back, and I did a bunch of more loads. And you guys had some female driver. I remember she was driving that blue 93 Pete with a 15 speed in it. And something happened to her, got kicked or did something. So I ended up in that truck. And then I ended up running for a couple of weeks for you guys. And then I got back, and Jeff got back. And he said, hey, do you know anything about cars? And I said, not really. He goes, well, my daughter's broke down in the McDonald's drive-thru. Can you go look at it? And Smoke, we jumped in your old blue pickup, the old 95 Chevy. We drove in there, got her car going, and I literally, word for word, said Smoke. I turned around and said, your sister is a Smoke show.
There's a few other choice words, but pretty much that's how it went. Exactly.
But anyway, so then Lori ran into her at a party, and she goes, oh, man, Katie wants to jump your bones. I was like, that's funny. I do too. I said, where's she at? Well, she's in Cedar Rapids going to Kirkwood. I found out where she worked. She was at the Buckle. I called her. Hey, this is Katie. Welcome to the Buckle, blah, blah. And I said, hey, it's Mark Thomas. She goes, no. And it took months of persistence. And then I finally started going back and forth. And then I had to start taking your sisters with me.
Our little sisters.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that was a trip. 3 hours of them in the car.
That's when we knew you were committed to sticking around, when you were taking the 3 and 4 year old to Cedar Rapids.
Good excuse to go see your sister.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did that for God ever. And then, I don't know, mixing love and work together wasn't going to be the answer there. I got my insurance and went back to
driving truck for Randy's.
Yeah, and it ended up being the greatest thing ever because the relationship I actually built with your dad, because he'd tell me shit that he wouldn't tell his kids for all the tea in China, and then now that he's passed on, some of these stories might come out down the road. Yeah, so then I just...
So you just went back to work for Randy's, driving truck.
Went over the road and it worked perfect, and actually, it was kind of a perfect relationship because she was so used to your dad being gone on the road.
Yep.
And she tells war stories of your dad used to just throw her in the truck during the summertime with random drivers that worked for you, and she'd say, go to the East Coast, go wherever, and then when she'd get in trouble, she'd remember scooping out all the livestock trailers on Saturday and throwing hay bales down just to throw them back up.
I do got a few stories of Katie getting in trouble because I was the one that always worked on the farm. I was just the one that always did it. There's a few stories of Katie getting in trouble, and Dad made her, would make her come wash trailers out, or like you said, throw hay. One story I remember very vividly is he had her throwing hay bales down from the loft. And I don't remember how many she threw down. Don't matter. She threw these hay bales down. He comes in. He goes, what are you going to do with those? She goes, well, that's what you told me to throw down. He goes, no, them are the wrong ones.
Them are the straw bales.
Yeah.
I remember the party that she was at in Breda, that the next day she was doing the hay bales because your dad come in hot pissed.
Yeah.
Like I said, I knew of him, but didn't know him. And all she talks about is that it's in all your Baron DNA. And you guys get mad, you slam your fist. Boom, boom, boom. She said, all the way home, man, just beat the shit out of that dash, and you better be up in the morning. But, even after we started dating then, and I wasn't working with your dad at all, his famous line is, hey, if you ain't doing anything this weekend, I need this done. Or what's your plans look like this weekend?
Always have plans.
Oh, always.
That's called always have plans.
And when I was dating Katie and I lived down the road from the farm, and he always knew when Katie was coming home, he'd be like, well, Katie ain't going to be home till noon. I got 5-6 trailers. You run over to McDonald's,
run them over
and wash the trailers out.
Run them over the wash.
And I think you got roped into riding along doing that stuff too with me.
I did a lot of stuff when I was young.
Oh, God. You got anything going on? Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Yeah. And then that turned into
every time.
That turned into, hey, I talked to Katie and you guys aren't doing anything tonight. There's a load down in Lineville. There's a load down. Can you just sail barn load? Just go grab it and bring it home. I just got home from trucking. No, I'll get the truck fueled and ready to go.
So how many years did you drive for Randy's diesel pulling tanker?
One. I can remember our graduation day. I jumped in my old FLD, that blue and white truck I used to drive, and I went to Thompson, Iowa with Guthrie, and that was our graduation day. So basically from day of graduation till, I want to say 2013 maybe.
Okay. So 12 years,
yeah,
roughly.
So I ran all over in the state of Iowa, even when I was down in Des Moines. So I went to school during the day, and I worked night shift at Housby Mac as a mechanic down there, and ended up falling in love with that because I was the only one with the CDL. So every truck that got worked on, I'm like, hey, this needs test drove. And I would just get myself a big old Diet Mountain Dew and a hot dog from the Quick Trip next door and have a cruise around Des Moines and hope the damn thing made it back. And sometimes, Brinksy, he worked at Carl's nights.
Oh.
And we'd meet up along the interstate and bullshit for a while and turn around and buzz on back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of mischief goes on there too. But yeah, I had a truck and then I'd take back with me then. And then same thing. I would run back and forth Davenport and Thompson and wherever in the state of Iowa. And then the day I turned 21, man, first load, I went straight out to California and ended up in an ice storm, sat in Oklahoma on 40 for 2-3 days. And Delby was living out there at the time. So Mary had packed my entire truck full of groceries. By the time I got out there, I think he only had like a case of Mountain Dew. Oh, shit. I was living a good life stuck out there on the ice. And I was driving with a guy named, remember, Gene Johansson?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, he liked his beers, and he knew we weren't going anywhere.
Mary Lou.
Yeah, Mary Lou.
You ain't gonna make it.
Yeah. Did she make it, Gene? But I can remember he left the truck, and he walked to town because he wanted a beer. He's like, we ain't going anywhere for days. God put it here, he'll take it away. And we were there like 2 days.
Stuck on the interstate.
Yep.
So, do you guys haul all sorts of food grade or just...
We used to haul like apple juice. We used to haul that a lot. Orange juice, peach juice, milk, cream, eggs. And now we're strictly down to just eggs.
You're strictly just eggs.
Yep. Yeah.
Now.
The USDA don't like it a lot when you cross with the eggs.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose there's just not only just in trucking is there so many rules you have to follow, but there's just rules for everything.
Yep. And the egg business is a lot like the livestock. I mean, it's such a small, tight-knit business where it's like 6 major companies are moving them all.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you guys run everywhere? I mean, I remember when you were trucking, I mean, you were running everywhere, but you were hauling all sorts of food grade and not just eggs.
Yeah, when I was driving, we were down to, randomly a couple loads of apple juice we get. I'd haul eggs out of Guthrie and I'd go down to Texas with them. And then I'd wash out down there and then I'd go to El Paso and I'd pick up cream in El Paso. And then they never had enough, so then we'd have to go to a second farmer's ranch in Roswell, New Mexico, and I'd pick that up and bring that back to West Point.
Oh.
And then I'd go back north and pick up another load of eggs, kind of make my rounds. And I remember I used to bring home that chocolate milk that they put the chocolate in after the pasteurization from New Mexico. Your sisters couldn't drink that fast enough. I'd always ask the guy, can I get one of them? After enough years, he got pretty good friends. He'd be like, cooler's open. And I'd come back 2-3 gallons. He's like, oh, that ain't enough. Just keep on filling. And I had styrofoam coolers full.
What do you think your favorite truck was? Because what'd you all drive for trucks? I mean, you started with the FLD.
I had the FLD, and then I went to that flat top Marmon. I had that like purplish blue one that I drove. I had the N14 Cummins with 15 speed. I love that truck because it was so heavy. I mean, you could take the corners as fast as you want. It just felt like you were glued like a race car. And I always wanted, we had a truck, we called it 09. It was a black Marmon flat top with a big cat in it. And I always wanted that truck. And then before I was able to go over the road, we actually had sold that truck. And I was like, son of
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I can remember my first time actually driving. We were coming up out of Kansas City. I remember me and Delby rode with Randy to Kansas City. We used to unload down by the rail yard there. And it was sketchier than hell. And you had the back in this alley crossing the bar. And I remember just sleeping on the floor in there. And then Randy was like, oh, I think I'm going to take a nap, blah, blah, blah. You better take over, And we were just kids. But, he wasn't back there sleeping.
Right.
And I remember he had that cruise set and I was trucking, living my best life. And it was in that 13, that red Marmon that he had, that little flat top slope nose. You remember Ron McCollum drove it?
No, I don't.
But anyways, I remember we were coming in Atlantic and me and Delby, we were passing cars. We're like, oh, this is freaking great. Just living the best life.
Yeah. Oh.
And you come into Atlantic and you come up that last hill by the Walmart and you go down that hill. Well, Randy noticed I wasn't slowing down. Well, I didn't know where the hell the brake was at. He come out of that sleeper, grabbing that shifter, slamming the brakes. But yeah, no, that was my first driving experience. I was hooked, man. It was in your blood. And I, like I said, I mother F the trucking industry every single day. But
yeah,
there's no getting out.
There's not.
There's no getting out. Once it's in you, there's no getting out.
Well, we say that a lot. It's in your blood.
It is. In every aspect, whether you're working on them, around them, dispatch, you're never getting out.
Do you think that's part of why you don't sleep?
Oh, absolutely.
You're a freak of nature.
Absolutely. I do not sleep much. No.
Let's tell people how you spend your nights now.
Now my hobby is because, I don't sleep. I like to do the nighttime predator hunting all over. And that started off kind of slow. And then I met a couple good buddies that got me into it pretty hard and heavy. And now any ranchers or calving season or anything, man, my phone just ringing. And we go out and put the hurting on the coyotes out there. Well, that just happened to your uncle. Lost some fat cattle last year. He called me next morning. He goes, hey, I got cattle in here with the ears chewed off. I said, coyotes chewed them off. I said, the coyotes always, when they're coming after the heavier fat cattle to chew the ears off, and the bleed, oh, we've never seen a coyote out here, blah, blah, blah. I got that picture hanging in my gun room downstairs. I was out there 5 minutes, shot 3 of them right out back of the feed yard. He's like, oh my God. And, and then the war story, I'm sure by the time I got to the end of Al's corner, it was I shot 30. And honestly, the spots that I can hunt and the people I've met, a lot of it originated from your dad because your dad loved it. Your dad loved the war stories and seeing the pictures and all that stuff. He got a kick out of him. He'd be like, oh, I know this farmer over here. And he'd call him. Or I know a farmer over here. He'd call him. Or I know this guy drove a truck and he said he hears them all the time down here. And he'd call that guy. And, the boar was good about it. He loved it. I remember when we did our coon hunting tournament, he stayed up when he was not feeling good. He was sick. And he stayed up all night and checked in with me every 30 minutes.
How many you got?
I'll go get the gooseneck hooked up. And I was like, you going to have Andy hook it up? No, I'll do it. Uh-huh. But man, he's committed. I will say that one thing about your dad. He has been up in life and down in life. And for 23 years, I've seen it so many times. But when it comes to you kids or his grandkids or like us, he would do anything for you. Anything.
Yeah, he would do anything for anybody.
I remember when I think it was my second thermal I had, and they came out with this new badass thermal, and we were entering, I think we were doing a coyote tournament. He goes, how you doing? I said, man, I do a lot better with this. And he goes, well, why don't you get it? And I said, I can't afford that thing. And next day he showed up at the house, and he goes, well, let's go get it. And he went with me, and we bought that son of a bitch. He goes, you better win. And I said, well, I can't guarantee anything. And it was that small stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if he seen it brought you happiness, he would be all in. All in. You look back at all the places you guys probably go and the stories that a lot of them old timers now are probably telling you and all the different connections he got just because he was such a good guy.
He didn't know a stranger.
No.
You telling these stories about, I know this guy or I know that guy. He was not scared to call anybody and get told no.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, hey, you don't know until you try type of guy. I mean, I'm almost to the point I'm like, I don't really want to call them if I don't have to.
Jesus. You know what's still the greatest story of all time when it comes to your dad? You remember when Hattie was born, we flew to Arizona and she got sick on the plane.
He owned a place in Scottsdale.
Yes.
So were you guys going down to visit him?
We went down to visit him.
Okay.
Anyways, he keeps telling me about all these guys, and blah, blah, blah. We had to go to Target and get something. I don't even know. I come out and your dad's talking to this guy in the parking lot. And I said, who the hell's that? And he goes, the guy has an auto repair business and an auto body shop. And I said, well, that's great. Get in the car and we can drive back home. Here's this guy at the door. I said, yeah. And he goes, I'm here to work on Jeff's Dodge. And that thing was beat to holy hell. There's no repairing that. And I said, oh, yeah, what are you doing? He goes, oh, he's going to have me fix them dents and everything else. And Jeff's like, oh, this guy's great. Great. He's like, have you seen his work? No, but I could just tell, he says. Out in the 100-degree heat, this guy's doing dent repair, and he's filling the sides full of this wax-looking Bondo shit, and I'm laughing my ass off. There's no telling him any different at this point. And I said, Paps, I said, that guy's gone, but he left all this wax shit on there. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, I said, you pay him? Yep. And he said, leave that on there till morning. That shit will just buff right off there. Look, that guy just filled in the dents with his Bondo-looking shit. Took his money and run. We went to power wash it off. I said, oh, Paps' dents are still there. Well, that son of a bitch, I'm going to drive down to Target and find him. I said, nope, that's just another Barron's Black Cloud story. I told him, I said, you don't do any of these decisions without me alongside you.
I don't know how many years they had that place in Arizona, but there's a lot of good memories from Arizona.
All right, where the hell were we? I don't even remember.
Well, we were talking about coyote hunting.
Oh, yeah. So basically, now we just go out and, partial of Paps and, the stuff we did. But yeah, the ranchers and the farmers and the cabin guys, they just love us to come out. There's a bunch from Denison that just call nonstop as soon as they're cabin. But, talking about cows and cow hauling, I mean, it's kind of not on the same point, but the cows are so smart. If you ever watch cattle at night through a thermal, they are very smart animals. When we shoot a coyote, here's a perfect example. We got it on film is we shot one over by Ralston. They were calving, and when we shot that coyote, the cows make a perfect circle, and they run through there, and they just stomp that coyote, take turns running in a circle. And we got it all on film, but they're so smart. And then you watch them, the coyotes, they don't want nothing to do with that calf. At nighttime when they're calving, they just want the afterbirth and the shit because it's full of milk. Well, what happens is the mom comes over, and she starts kicking at the coyote, and then that's where everything usually goes south.
Do you think you kill something every night you go out? Or is there some...
I mean, when we first started, Christ... Yeah, we'd go blank stands a lot, but yeah, pretty much we kill something every night.
Okay.
Actually, the cows are a perfect example. When we get ready to go out, if you watch the cows, if they're up on their feet feeding and grazing, every other animal is going to be up grazing. But if they're down, huddled down, because there's a storm coming in 48 hours or whatever, that usually tells the story, and the other animals will be down too. So one of the first things we do is when we go back, even like go north, go past Greg's feedlot, look over at the cows, and that will tell you if they're hunkered down or their cows are up, everything else is going to be up, and the deer will be out.
Okay. So if the cows are up, there's a good chance you're going to find some coyotes.
Absolutely.
How far do you think you guys travel? Like, not to do competition or anything, but just on a regular Tuesday night?
Regular Tuesday night, we'll go 45 miles out of Carroll. We usually try to be back home by 12:30, 1 o'clock. Obviously, I got to get up at 5:30 for work next day, but on the weekends, wherever. Like, we just went to a new piece of ground. Guy's been begging us to go down. It was right off the interstate, so we drove an hour down there and shot a bunch of coyotes off that guy's ground.
What do you do with the coyotes?
We used to stack them up, a couple of years ago, because our goal is to shoot 1,000 coyotes in 4 years. So we're actually going to do it here shortly in a couple of months. So we'll do it in about 3.5. But we had this huge pile stacked up. We ended up having to dig a big hole and push them all into the hole. If they're nice ones, we'll skin them out and mount them. And like that wolf we shot down by Guthrie, we're getting that mounted, and then a couple other ones.
Let's not just breeze right by that. You shot a wolf.
99.9%, not 100%. Otherwise, I'd be behind the gray clinkers.
Yeah, that is not recommended.
No, but you want to talk about farmers coming out of the woodwork. I mean, when they posted that in the paper and everywhere else, yeah, that was like the green light. All right, let's give this guy a call and he'll come down and whack our stuff. But yeah, you want to talk about an animal you don't want running around, and why the DNR protecting them? I don't know the answer to that. But if they give the green light on it, I would be tracking them.
We hear all the time that they're around. I mean,
they're around,
how many do you think are in Iowa?
Oh, God, I have no idea. I know we've seen 3 or 4 ourselves.
Okay.
You know, and you got the mountain lions. You can legally shoot them. I just haven't been lucky enough to get one to come in.
You remember that time you saw a mountain lion at our farm?
Yeah, I do.
I had you out here. We got a coon problem.
Yep.
And had you out here on
Fucker
a
had a
random
tail on
night
him.
shooting coons, and you're like, I think it's a mountain lion. I remember you go, oh, I'm so nervous I can't pull the trigger.
I want to shoot a hole in your trailer.
What
Yeah, I know. I do remember them nights.
was it? Mark a cat?
Yeah.
Some of those coons are pretty big.
Oh, my God. You have a coon issue out here.
Yeah, we do.
Holy shit.
I mean, they have literally chewed the entire post of a outbuilding.
Yeah, our corner post of our machine shed is gone. When we started trapping, I bet we set foot traps
Yeah.
to start catching them, and I'll bet we caught 60, 70, 80 coons. I
least.
couldn't even.
At least.
I mean, we set 3 traps, and every morning we'd check them. 2 out of the 3 traps would have coons.
And they weren't little either. They were all full feed from
It
the
was
cattle yard.
consistent for a long time.
Yeah, well, that's my theory. It got really bad after your dad passed away. And my theory is that he comes back as a raccoon.
You did. You did say that. You're like, your dad has come back as a coon just to terrorize.
Just to terrorize. Give Dennis something to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dad's like, it would be really funny to have them coons chew this corner post off and try and watch Smoke figure out how he thinks he's going to fix that.
I wish he'd come back to me as a spirit and say, I'm going to drop you a check for a new thermal. We'll get this under control.
If anybody wants to gift Mark a new thermal to test out.
No, I don't have to worry about that now. I actually got a kind of a pro staff for Life is Now Outdoors out of Northeast Iowa. They've seen a bunch of my videos I was posting online, and they hooked me up with all kinds of sweet thermals.
Oh, who is that?
The company is called Life is Now Outdoors.
Life is Now Outdoors.
Yep. They're out of Northeast Iowa. The guy quit his job and basically built a full-time thermal business and nighttime hunting for coyotes and predators. And he's done awesome. And it's just all of us small guys, kind of got with him through Iowa, and he took care of us, giving us gears and doing product reviews. And
okay.
Yeah. So now anytime
you enjoy their product?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. They sell all the major brands, but if I need something or in a pinch, next day it's there. I mean, the guy named Nate Owen, he's absolutely great.
Okay.
Came from the bottom up and goes to all the shows and everything else. But yeah, most people can contact me. I don't know how many thermals I sold for him last year. Just people see me tagging his videos and
right.
They call me, hey, what about this? And I'll be point blunt with people. Or, that's the problem too, is, everybody got into thermals and everybody wanted to sell them. But I've been around thermals since the start. And I've seen them be like, man, I've wasted so much money on shit that don't work. And you'll tell somebody like, hey, that's not it. For this dollar amount you can get it. And they're like, oh, this guy down here. And then I said, the next question is, well, go ask that guy at that gun shop how many nights he's actually went out and hunted with thermal in the rain, in the snow, in the cloud cover. Spend the extra $700 on this one, or this one's cheaper and it's going to perform a lot better.
Yeah.
I would that'd be an unbelievable dream gig, is just to do that full time like he does. But
well, you've kind of started getting into educating people
absolutely,
around the topic.
Went up and did some coyote deals up there, and the most people were up there are the Amish. Gotta love talking to them guys.
The Amish. Where did you run into the Amish at?
I went up to Northeast Iowa. They come to the coyote conference because they have such coyote issue on a lot of their big properties that they actually get shoulder to shoulder. And they walk their properties and just basically push them and blast them. Or now with the introduce of a thermal, I don't know how they do it with technology.
I was going to say, is that technology that's allowed?
You got me. I didn't want to get shunned and take away my chance of going to heaven and questioning these guys when they were buying them. But they all got really nice rifles, I can tell you that. Most of them shooting the 243. And then I actually just talked to my buddy who was at the Deer Classic, and he was down helping Nate with his thermal cells down the Deer Classic. And I said, how'd that go? And he goes, you wouldn't believe the amount of Amish people showed up. And he goes, I actually asked him. He goes, I never got a straight answer on anything, but they're all in. They got ducks and geese and everything else. And obviously the coyotes and the foxes love to eat them.
Well, that's something you're not going to get out of anytime soon.
No.
You got a long life ahead of you.
Oh, God.
Shooting coons.
No, and that's what I said. You think about it all the time. It's just going from here to, we just won that tournament in Kentucky and just becoming friends. Like John Collins, his name. He's the biggest guy in the coyote business. He's Fox Pro's head guy, and he has a podcast, #1 hunting podcast on the deal. Sitting down, having lunch with him, drinking beers with him. And I was like, how did this even happen?
Right.
How did I get to this point?
Yep.
And then his right-hand man who had Tooth and Claw TV is Zeke Natz, and he comes up here and stays with us, and we go coyote hunting, and we stay down at his house, and we're in Kentucky. And like I said, the Life is Now Outdoors. It's like, how? How did,
How did I get here?
Yeah.
All because I wanted a hobby because I couldn't sleep at night.
Yes. Take over from the truck and then sit out there in the fields. And hell, sometimes we'll sit out there and, Alex, who I hunt with, he used to drive truck and now he's in the dispatching and loading and all that stuff for Wagner's down there. And, sometimes we'll just sit there watching trucks go by down the highway and just like, we need to be back trucking. I tell Katie that my retirement gig, hopefully you keep this thing alive because I would love nothing more and just get me a badass day cab.
Just haul a few fat cattle.
Fat cattle. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to come home. Just send me to Omaha or Schuyler or wherever and just be done.
Now, would you say the main person you go with is Alex Carlson?
Yeah. My buddy Brad really I went on that hog hunting trip down in Texas is where it really triggered. I had a thermal, didn't know what I was really doing, and how to even call. Because I remember, I must have went for a year before I killed my first one at night. And Katie, she's my biggest cheerleader, if you can't tell. She's like, how does that even happen? And I was like, I don't know. But anyways, went on this hog hunting trip and we went down there and I really hit it off friends with Brad because he has no filter like me. And we just kind of hit it off. But he was huge into it at this point. And when I got hooked and I learned a lot from him. Well, then he lives out in Indiana. So when I was back here, I was hunting with, random guys and everything else. So then I started hunting with Alex because we had so much in common through the trucking and we'd always be talking about that.
Did you meet him through the truck wash?
Yeah, basically through Wagner's, coming in and calling. Yep. And then Jed down there is like, oh, Alex is a lot closer. I was hunting with Jed too. And he's like, Alex is a lot closer. And me and Alex went hunting and it was just a perfect match.
Do you think coyote hunting's a team sport or could you still do it by yourself?
Oh, yeah, you can do it by yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like last night, if that wind was blowing, I was actually gearing up. Everybody's in bed and I was ready to go, but the wind started blowing so damn bad. My favorite part about it, honestly, it's not even killing the coyote. It's just being out there and my phone ain't ringing. Nobody wants anything from me. I just sometimes will just sit there and it's so quiet at night. And then obviously when a coyote comes in, it's like, oh, this is fucking badass. But yeah, no, I do love it. And I feel bad for Alex because his phone's like yours. It never stops ringing. I don't know how many stands that we've done. And I'm like, well, we're here. I get out, drag coyote back to the truck and he's on the phone screaming about something. But it all comes back to trucking too because 98% of our conversation is about what happened today in the truck. But anyways, yeah, the coyote hunt's fun. And anybody can get into it. Like we just did a charity raffle for the Pheasants Forever to take people out coyote hunting. And they raffled me and Alex off to go just to take them out. But we got up there and we were talking. I was like, listen, so many guys, I don't know how many phone calls I get a week about, oh man, I couldn't get him in or I seen him. I couldn't do this. There's so much that goes into it that it's just unbelievable. And I told Alex, I said, I don't want to take Joe Blow, Jilly Bob. I want to take kids that are getting into it, thinking about getting into it. So we got up there and we said, listen, if you got a kid, 10 years old to whatever, 16 or whatever, and they're thinking about getting into it, I'd like them to win the hunt because I want to show them the right way to do it because nobody showed me. And obviously it took me so damn long, but then that turned into a mental illness where it's like, I won't stop until I master this craft. I just want to be able to do that. But I just want to take the kids and show them, you put the collar over here because the wind's blowing this way, and just show them the right way to do things because I never had that. And I really want to pass that on. Any hunting sport or any sport, nobody's going to tell you the secrets to the operation. And I just don't. I've killed all I want to kill at this point. I'm just going to keep killing, but I have no problem with sharing what's working.
Yep.
Does anybody pay you to come out and hunt?
They've offered us, like we go out cow calving, but I'd rather not take any money from anybody because these tournaments pay so much. Since COVID, the tournaments are going online. So I can hunt any Friday night I want to enter a tournament. I can get on the computer and enter a tournament anywhere.
Oh, so interesting.
So I'd rather have the ground and the farmers happy.
Yeah, no, and absolutely.
And it was so hard to even get a lot of these farmers because of the truck hunters. When it snows, they chase them with the truck and the farmers are like, I don't want you in the field. And then once they see your videos and see what you're doing, then they're like, oh yeah, you can go. But no, I would never take money for that. No, I got my drywalling job and my trucking job. And I just
a hobby.
Yeah.
Just a hobby, yeah.
Yep.
How did you get into drywalling?
Being broke.
You want me to tell you about
Lanesboro?
Where our drywalling experience started?
Yeah.
So back up, you guys lived together. When Smoke was were you still in high school? You moved in with Mark and Katie?
Yep. I was. I moved in with Mark and Katie when I was still in high school. We lived in this little house in Lanesboro, Iowa. My dad gave Mark and Katie this house in Lanesboro, and it was a dump.
What a sweet deal we got. Sweet deal.
So we went in there and completely gutted this place. I mean, we gutted this place down to studs.
Well, you got to back up. You got to remember, Katie was at college yet.
Yeah.
And we went in there and literally scrapped every dollar we had together to paint the inside of this thing. And I remember coming from Pete's place, the bar, with Brinksy, and he walked up to the wall and he goes, oh, that paint's flicking. And he flipped it and half the bedroom wall come down because there were plaster walls. And we were hammered drunk and we tore all the plaster out and put it in a pile and sent Katie a picture. And she goes, what the hell is that? That better not be my bedroom wall. Well, it was. And then Wenthold, back to him, was there. He's like, oh, done drywall all my life. We put that frickin' drywall
So
up.
we hung all this drywall and we hung it vertical, up and down.
Down, not 60, not even on the center of the studs.
And I remember, I think Cody or Obek come up.
Cody come up.
Codell come up and he goes, what is this?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Because we had all the drywall hung.
Yeah.
And Cody come up, he was going to tape it, mud it. We had it all done. Cody comes up and he goes, what is this? What happened?
Yeah.
We're like, what do you mean? We hung drywall. He hung it the wrong way.
Yeah, nothing on the studs. It was all bad.
So you spent all that money
But I didn't have.
that you didn't have buying all this drywall, all for us to tear it back down and go buy all new drywall
Yep.
for Cody to hang it the right way.
That was actually great for your dad, though, because I remember borrowing the money from him. And then now hey, what are you doing this weekend? Turned into, hey, you know what you're doing this weekend? But yeah, so I kind of got a taste for it there and then never thought anything about it. And then obviously you're not making the same amount of money when you come off the road as what you make on the road. And then I was just dicking around doing fist hole deals. I could do that. And then one of our friends was redoing her basement and she's like, I want you to do the drywall. I was like, I don't know. And she's like, I don't care if it takes you all summer. I want you to do it. And I did it. And then interior designer come in and seen it. And I think it was just, I had to have it perfect, and it blew up from there. And there's no getting out at this point. I mean,
No.
it's 6 days a week, as much as we can possibly do.
You do a lot of drywall.
Mm-hmm. But back to the not sleeping trucking, I'll tell people, hey, I'm going to be here at 4:30 in the morning. Or I'm going to be here at 5 in the morning. Oh, yeah. No, really, I'm going to be here. Like, and then you bang on their door and like, what the f are you doing?
What are you doing here at 4:30?
Well, there's no coyotes to kill. Now it's time to take mud sheetrock.
I mean, you drywall by yourself. Like, you hang it by yourself. You do got somebody that helps you, but
Yep.
they don't necessarily help you hang it, do they?
Nope. And now we actually don't do any of the hanging now because we're so busy with the taping and mudding and texturing and finishing.
Oh, you don't do any of the hanging
Nope,
anymore.
the contractors now are like, listen, we can hang it. We want you to finish it. Because you hire them foreign crews and everything else, they're gone. Where I'm right here, where we'll back, something goes wrong or it cracks, we'll come fix it. And them guys like that. And they like the fact that we'll work nights behind them after they get out. And if we say we're going to be done by Monday, I don't know if I've ever told contractor a day, I'm not going to be done, and hell or high water, it's done.
Gotcha.
We got to work all night. But yeah, no, I got Alex Coster
Coster.
that helps me. I mean, he knows what I need before I need it. He's organized. And I'm just balls to the wall ramming it.
Alex is probably the type of guy that he's worth every bit
Every
of
penny.
what. Yeah.
Every penny. He's a therapist when I'm pissed off.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah. So now it fulfills that. I don't even know. I think it's it's perfection trade. And I really think I have some form of ADHD where once I start something, I have to figure out how to perfect it. And it does it for me.
How far do you think you've traveled to do drywall?
We'll go all over. I remember we did one job for Big Mike down in Southern Iowa. I called Alex. It was like 6 o'clock on a Friday. He's like, quick job. Mike just needs us bail him out, paint this up quick. Shit. 6, 7 in the morning, we're rolling back in the Carol. I was like, I really like you, buddy. Talk about a saint, never bitch, never said a word. And I remember driving him off and he jumped in the car and had to drive to Des Moines for a kid's sport or something.
Spent all night working.
All night.
Just this quick job.
Yeah.
We're just going to run down here real quick and get
real
this
quick.
I remember that story. That turned into a whole fiasco.
Yeah, whole nightmare.
That
No
place
heat,
had no
building.
heat.
Yep.
And it just...
Back to warranty. I had to go back down there the next day. And I was sitting in there with propane torches floating them around. Quick dollar did not turn into a quick dollar.
Yeah, it's kind of how that works sometimes. More times than not.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
What else do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the truck wash. When you come off of the road from trucking, they had you helping dispatch for a couple years. What made them decide they wanted to build a truck wash?
It was more for the inside tank wash. It was more of convenience because we were always washing them manually as kids. We'd always get in there, power wash them out, scrub them out, get all the eggs out as kids. And we were still doing it that way 20 years later because the plants back in the day, when you'd unload, they'd rinse you and then you get clean and then they'd always rewash, with a good CIP system before they load you.
Okay.
But obviously you can't find help now. So it's like, we got to go to automated wash system thinking down the road. And now the plants don't do anything. They barely even get a drop of water in there. And the guys will always drop and hook through the yard and we'll wash them out and clean them. But they'll always rewash them before they load them. But when they unloaded them, back in the day, they always rinsed them out with a hose or wash.
And they just don't do that. Whatever comes out.
Shut the lid. Next guy's problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, they did that out of necessity, just, thinking down the line, which thank God they did. Because now, like I said, nobody's doing it, between the water bill and the cities and the sewers and every other stupid thing. But yeah, so I knew I wanted to start a family and they knew I did. And that was kind of Debbie came, he's like, hey, we're going to do this. You want to try coming off the road? So I came off like 2 years before the building was actually done. And that's when I went into the dispatch. And
Okay.
then Hadley was born and then just kind of morphed into that.
So the truck wash initially started as a tank washout.
Wash out. And then we always washed our own trucks on the weekends. You know, that was part of my job growing up as a kid too, is to wash them trucks.
Okay.
We had the old bay at the old shop. We did everything out of there. And that's when we worked till 6 o'clock every Saturday.
That's right. They did work full days on Saturdays.
Yep.
Who do you think decided no more Saturdays? Mary?
Mary, she wanted to be able to go do stuff and wanted Randy to be able to go do stuff without having to be committed. And then the mechanics, nobody had really families at that time. And everybody was starting to have kids and everybody was having kids stuff. And she just wanted everybody to spend more time with their kids and family. And
Yep. That truck wash/washout has become way bigger than I think they probably ever expected.
yeah, it's good. It could be better. You know, we get a lot of outside carriers, but we're so restrained on just the 2-bay system. We're not like some of the big ones in the cities, you know, where we've talked about is making like a 4-bay washout, backing the trailers in butt to butt. Because the problem is now everything has to be dried. So we wash all the kosher washes and now all the facilities want them to be heat dried and vent dried. So that takes time and it just slows.
Do you have the
down.
ability to dry them?
Yeah. No, we put a dryer in, so we're drying. So all the Windstar trailers have to be dried. All the Wagner's koshers have to be dried. You know, and that takes 20 minutes of crack there times all the trailers all day. So now you're tying up the bay, where if we could back a trailer in.
Well, goodness, there's not hardly enough time to get them all done then.
That's what I mean. It's just really a push.
What's the different washouts?
So we got hot water flushes. A lot of these plants just require them to be flushed. Basically, it's just rinse them out because they're going to put the same product back on them. And then you got cold water flushes. Some of them want that. And then a regular food grade wash. And then our kosher washes. And basically, it's just a temperature thing and time. You know, we're running the same concentration of caustic soda in there and sanitizer and everything else, but it's just a time length. Like the koshers, they want minimum 20 minutes at 205 degrees dumped to the ground. And we have a meter that we have to meter the export water, not the water going in, but the fresh water coming out. We're over 200 degrees for 20 minutes. It's all for food safety.
So there's a deal that sets on top of the lid.
Yep, it's called a stinger, and it drops down in there.
And then is it just got little arms that
Nope,
just...
it looks like a Chinese throwing star, and then it has it's almost like a Swiss clock in there, man. You take one apart, there's just thousands of gears in there, and it actually cuts perfect diamond patterns from the front of that trailer without moving, staying stationary down in the center. It cuts perfect diamond patterns all the way to front and back because it turns this direction and this direction and this direction. And it cuts them like you can run like a 10-minute quick rinse and get in there. And you can actually see the diamond patterns cut into the trailer. And there's only one place in the United States that works on that head. So when you pull them back out of the trailer, you better not hit it on the trailer because we've broke them in the past and they are expensive.
Do you keep a spare one?
We got a spare one now. Takes a little while to get one from Germany to here.
Have you been through that?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
That was the worst learning curve of, there's nobody around here that works on the machines. So back to our mechanical background, we had to learn how to fix all that computerized CIP stuff. We had to do all that. And then you never had spare parts because you're like, well, we don't know what's going to break, what's not going to break. So yeah, the first years were painful growing and waiting on parts. And then you piss customers off. Well, why you closed down? It's like, well, the sensor went out. Well, we didn't know we needed an extra sensor. But I think we're through the growing pains now where we keep one of everything on hand.
There's about 4 different kinds of washes: hot water, cold water.
It goes on and on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Every plant will want their specific detail of what they want and what temperature they want and what caustic they want.
So do them machines, do you print out something for them?
Yep. So it has
plants?
It has a computer chart. Like we just had one of the plants came in, just wanted to walk through, watch everything, see how it went, make sure you're up and up. We passed out flying colors. But yeah, no, it has a computer screen built in, kind of like your ECM on your semi. And you can program it however you want it to do and how long you want it to.
Pretty much you can print that off for the plant if they want it.
Yep.
To show them, like, this trailer did get a kosher.
Yep. And if there's something a certain guy needs or he does it and we're not able to facilitate the wash on the computer, there's actually a guy named Eugene out of Wisconsin, high school dropout, computer genius, builds airplanes in his spare time, goes to Saudi Arabia in the oil fields and everywhere to program these PCMs, basically like your ECM. But we can call him up, be like, hey, this is what the customer wants. He's like, oh, just plug me in. I drag a computer cord out of the office all the way down through the bay and plug it in. He gets on his laptop wherever in the world he is, and he writes the program right there, and boom, good to go. He's a savant, to say the least.
How many people you got working for you in the...
We've got 2 over in the truck wash side, and then me and Jamie on the tank wash side. We kind of have to keep that limited on that side because there's so many details and so many pieces.
It's just you and Jamie on the washout side.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Yep. And Jamie don't like me out there. Most people don't want their boss standing next to me. He's like, I got it. Just go away. I got it. He's very meticulous in what he does, and I don't really ever have to worry about him. And he's about as reliable as they come. And then Jacinda, she's the sweetheart in the office that can defuse any situation. Somebody's pissed off about something. Or me. She's quite the cat. It don't take a lot to do it. It's just the little steps of make sure you take this gasket out and that plunger out and this out and like damn sure it's clean, because before we tried having basically everybody trained in the building to do it just in case one was gone or one was sick. It doesn't work out because, well, that ain't my job.
Well, and the next thing is you got a very high-tech camera system.
That camera has saved us. You would not believe how many times this is the phone call I usually get, and it's usually 5 a.m. Hey, I'm over here to load, and my elbow's not in the back of my trailer, and I know it was in there, so how are you going to fix this problem? I was like, well, if it is our problem, I'll get in the pickup and I will drive it to you wherever the hell you're at. But let me go back and check my camera. Oh, you got cameras? Yeah, very nice cameras. I can zoom in I could read the seal numbers on the back of that door because we record from the start time that door gets open to the time that all the parts, this sucker is insane. And 9 out of 10 times I send them the video and go, but here's us opening it. Here's you standing there, and that magic elbow is not even in the back of the trailer. So what plant did you leave that at when you unloaded? Oh, maybe I did. Well, yeah, maybe you did.
Right. Yeah. I have heard more than one story about that camera saving, or even on the truck wash side.
Oh, absolutely.
The next day, well, this scratch wasn't in the side of my truck.
You broke my antenna off, or you did this, or you did that. And I will say that one thing about with Randy in the wash bay, if we do the damage or we break something, he's fixing it. And it's happened. I mean, shit happens. We've broken antennas. We always take care of it. But I love that phone call, especially because we got one right when you pull into the driveway, right off the road. And then like 4 more coming down the driveway, and then 2 or 3 out back. And then right when you're waiting in line, it has a full video, both sides of your truck, both sides of your trailer. And I just love doing that. Like, you want to come up, stop in, we'll take care of this, come in. Yep, here's the video. There it is right here. Here's you pulling off the road. See a big gouge all the way down. Well, where the hell did that happen? Well, not here. Not here. And all them guys that come in, 98% of them know me from some form or fashion. And
trucking or
somewhere.
They
can call me. I'm not going to get wound up. I'm not going to get pissed off. I understand even when they're in line or like, hey, can I get ahead of this guy? He's just dropped my hook. And I'll go out and I'll talk to them guys like, hey, this guy's ELD's running. Are you in any hurry? Most of the farmers are crazy. Like, I ain't got nothing to do today. I already hauled my load. I'll go upstairs and watch TV. And they'll let them come around, because a lot of them guys, they always call in like, hey, what's the line like? And it's all, when that ELD came in, that really affected the guys from being able just to sit there, even though they had nowhere to go, but they still wanted to make it an hour down to their load time to go to bed. But if they sat there all day, they couldn't do it. So they always call them like, hey, is there anybody in the bay right now? Is there anybody in line right now? That ELD is quite the deal, man.
So speaking of that, about farmers not being in a hurry, makes me think about all the people that deliver feed. And like when there's a big hog disease going around a PRRS or whatever it may be, all the feed trailers you guys have to wash. They'll go deliver feed to this hog site, and then they have to come wash.
And sanitize.
And disinfect immediately before they can enter another.
Yeah, new co-op. We did that forever for them every time. What was that, 2-3 years ago when that was really bad around here? Every load, man, they come through. Wash and disinfect. I get to work at 5 a.m. and just beat my head against the trailer because I'm the only one there. I was like, oh my God, you'd see 5 feet trucks all in a row. And everybody just wanted to get it done and get going.
Yeah.
We run into the same thing now with the bird flu. We have to do it on all of our trailers. And now we had pull trailers off sites and the bird flu's, all over, and it's back up north again. And every one of them trailers has to come down through, wash and disinfect, and then drive all the way up there and find another one, wash and disinfect. And then all of them put in the automatic disinfectants, most of them, right at the bay. Somebody's sitting there all day and without security clearance, you're disinfecting just to go on to the plant. And most of them won't even let you. You have to drop it like downtown, and they'll send a designated truck to come get it a couple miles away from the chicken houses. Oh, man. And them guys are just getting back on their feet from having to kill everything off, and now full circle back.
I think let's wrap up with this. You clearly have a solid work ethic. Where did that come from? Who do you credit?
Well, it's kind of a double question. Probably my dad was really strict on work ethic and getting up. He was up all night too. He drove a truck. My dad did too. So that's probably where I first got it in my blood, because I remember there's nothing that made me happier on sick days when I got to stay home from school. And he was going with Dad in the truck, and he had these softest, goddamn, I remember this old shitty yellow blanket he had in there. I wish I had it today. I would curl up in there. And then I can remember actually my dad on weekends go like, I think it was Bloomington. Bloomington have a sale barn. But I remember going to Bloomington a bunch with him and getting cattle and bringing them back. I can remember him hauling all that stuff. But he was a very strict with work. And if you buy something, you take care of something. And then with going to work with Randy, and he's a workaholic in the same way. And it's just like, I don't know. I suppose it's good. You're only as good as the people you're around. You know the old saying?
True. Yeah.
So if you're around people that are workaholics, it's going to make you a workaholic.
Yeah.
You know, if you're around deadbeats, you're a deadbeat. But I suppose that's where it come from. My biggest deal was, we'd work our ass off. And then remember that big screen TV we got back at the old hog house? I remember paying $5,000 for that TV.
Really?
That was $5,000 from Sound Service. You would work your ass off, and the just pride of being able to go buy it. I mean, you'd be broken a joke the next day, but it gave you a reason to get up and go back to work. But we were just talking about that TV was $5,000.
I'll be.
I remember Tom Franzen, the sheriff, used to say, he's like, yeah, we used to just park down the road. Remember we had the big Budweiser sign in the way?
Yeah, I do.
He said, we watch anything you guys are watching all the way down the road. But no, that's something I hope to instill in my kids. And Katie's a workaholic too. And that probably comes from Jeff with just, you guys always have them do something. Your mom I remember her growing up too,
Oh, she still is. Yeah.
Yeah, we thought she was going to retire and help watch kids, and she is too busy to do that most days.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, mom retired, and it was like, oh, that's going to be an all right deal. All of us kids, we were like, somebody to pick the kids up from daycare on a day we need to. And now you got to like pencil yourself in with her. It's like, hey, mom, do you have anything on Wednesday? Oh, yeah, I got to help work cattle. It's like, okay.
Yep.
Well, Mark.
Yep.
Thank you.
Someday we'll talk about Duke.
We're going to go. All right.
Oh, God. Okay.
What a good dog.
Oh, what a good dog. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're wrapping it up.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Till next time.
Goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Rural Dispatch. I hope you found something valuable to take back to your own operation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. You can keep up with me between episodes on socials at Barons & Co. or join our email list on our website to get new episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Wednesday. Until next time, keep those wheels turning. We'll talk soon.